All right, so you're relocating to Huntsville, Alabama, and you want to know what it's actually like. Well, I've lived here for 12 years. I'm not going to sugarcoat any of this. We're going to go into what this area is actually like. 12 years ago in 2014, if you remember during the Obama era military rifts, yeah, that's when my family moved out here. My father, after decades of military service, all of a sudden was looking for a job. Well, with engineering background, he fit right in, was able to get snatched up really quick when we moved to Huntsville. Now, if you're thinking of Alabama, you probably have some preconceived notions if you've never visited this area before. If you've watched Forrest Gump, Sweet Home Alabama, those kind of media portrayals, you probably have a vision that is completely inaccurate. Huntsville is unlike anywhere else. You've got rockets, like literal rocket scientists here in the area, tons of engineers, really smart people. You've got lots of manufacturing base as well, and advanced manufacturing when you're going to cars and that kind of thing. We've got Eli Lilly is even setting their sights here in the area. So Huntsville is not like anywhere else in the state. It's really its own city. It kind of feels like a mini Washington, D.C., except in a red state. A lot of people, it's so surprising how many people from all different parts of the world, walks of life, end up choosing the city to move to. Now, why did we decide to move here? Because I was moved here as a military brat. We moved here. My wife, her father worked for NASA. She moved out here 20 years ago to the area. But the number one thing, that's really keeping us here in the area. Well, family. I mean, a lot of people, lay down really deep roots here. It's not a transient city. People come and people lay roots, and so with that strong family network, it makes raising our kids so much easier. But the big point that allows us to stay here is the cost of living is so affordable here. If we had stayed, for context, in where I was born over in Honolulu, Hawaii, or if we'd stayed in Alexandria, Virginia, beautiful city, love it, but the cost of living is so high, it would have necessitated that my wife would have had a advanced professional job just for us to barely make ends meet, maybe afford just a starter tiny home, small place, or we might be stuck in the rent trap. So being here allows her to be a stay-at-home mom, homeschool our two kids, and really kick off that life that we want for our family. Hey, where I'm at right now, you can get places like this here in Huntsville if you want to drive 40 minutes out, where you've got lands. There's alpaca back there over here on my parents' estate. I just wanted to show you guys like what you can actually get out here. Alpacas, chickens, that lifestyle. We moved from rural Missouri. The fact that we could get this and still be near all these great jobs, that's another huge caveat. While this area is really growing, when we talk about the job markets, the upper echelon jobs, if you will, that's going to be anything supporting Redstone Arsenal, defense contracting, missile defense, or any of the industries there, or high ups in the manufacturing. Outside of those, and those tend to be senior roles. So if you're moving here, if you're looking at $140,000, $160,000 your job offer, you're in that senior role. Moving up through the ranks, is a little bit harder. A lot of people, in the manufacturing work in that world, you're looking at that $60,000, $70,000 a year kind of median household income to expect. So if you're coming in, then you're able to come in with well above the median, and so you're actually going to feel like you have discretionary free spending money again. It's amazing. If there's two of you who are required to work from a high cost living city, all of a sudden one of you might be optional, or part-time work could be a thing, or you could both reduce hours some. So the cost of living is a major draw that this is a city that actually feels like it makes sense. Next thing I want to talk about is why we picked this area as well to raise our family. So for context, I was homeschooled. My wife was homeschooled through most of her childhood education, and we want to do the same for our children. Alabama is very homeschool friendly. It's got a lot of places, really cool places that we can take our kids to, with the Cooks Museum over in Decatur, Botanical Gardens in Huntsville, Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville. There's lots of things, lots of events, things that we can do for our family, that it just makes a lot of sense. And it's not breaking the bank for every single activity that you want to do for us here with our family. So it makes it, for us, this is a great place for us to raise our family and lay down roots. Another part of it is when I think back to Alexandria, Virginia, and the life it would have forced in that high cost of living city, forced my wife and I to have, it would have been a completely different lifestyle. Over here in this area, I actually see a future for my kids. Any route that they want to go, there's opportunity here in this area for them to be able to move up. They want to become engineers, if they want to get into manufacturing or trades or any of that, Huntsville provides enough opportunity for them where if they want to lay down roots, they've got that choice as well, where they have options. Now, leading into that, I don't see myself living here forever. And my wife and I have talked about it. You know, we want to have our own adventure one day, but for this season of life, while we're raising kids, while we're in those little years, Huntsville, Alabama, this is the perfect place for us to raise our family and lay down roots. Now, over time, I'm filming out here in this beautiful back screen room. It's hot out. You know, I got the fan going. It's okay, but the summers here are brutal. The humidity, it's like I can feel it right now. It's getting sticky. That is going to be the huge break for us. You know, I love the West Coast. I could do without their politics, but I love the West Coast and the beauty there. I think we haven't quite found our forever place. And when we're 50, when we're 60, I don't know if I want to deal with this heat for the rest of my life. Sometimes you just got to switch things up. But for this season, you know, this makes a ton of sense for where we're at for the next 10, 20 years to really lay down those roots. Then, okay, is Huntsville, Alabama safe? All right, so as a realtor, I gotta be really careful whenever I talk about safety. Look at third-party things, but if this next point I'm gonna tell you is gonna either make you feel the city safe or unsafe. Alabama is a constitutional carry state, which means you don't need the government telling you whether or not you can conceal carry when you're going out and about. So, you know, this is an area where you might find people open carrying, hip carrying, that kind of thing as citizens. If that makes you feel unsafe, boom, right there, that may have answered your question. Or you might be one that goes, I can carry where I want to go. That makes me feel so much better. Let you hang out on that one, which way that makes you feel. This area is not a massive mega metropolis. So you get a lot of small town, small vibe. Look into those numbers for yourself, get the feel, but you know, for me, I feel comfortable here in this area. But like anywhere, you gotta be smart about what you're doing, right? Allergies. Okay, I don't know if you can tell, maybe it's worn off. My eyes were super like, oh my gosh, the allergies when I came here a little bit earlier. Alabama has allergies all year round. When the leaves first start budding, if you're not used to that, it's something to get used to. You've got like when the grass is going, when you've got the leaves on the trees, because it's so beautiful. It's so many trees here, but you get all that pollen, and then in the fall you get the leaf mold. You have ragweed, so there's always something blooming that if you're not used to it, you could be having flare-ups all the time. I hate pharmaceuticals. I'm only gonna be taking that kind of stuff if I'm literally dying. So you know, we try to do more natural kind of methods to combat that, but you know, the allergies can be pretty tough here if you're not used to it. And that first season that you live here, it can be rough. It can be rough if you never dealt with this kind of these kind of allergies. All right, so next part we need to talk about is tornadoes in Huntsville. Huntsville, Alabama has tornadoes here in the south because you have all that weather coming from the Gulf mixing in. You get tornado season. So what do you actually do? Well, this is going to sound pretty bad. You get used to it over here. You know, when we lived in Alexander, we had hurricane, earthquake, snowmageddon, you know, that kind of. In Hawaii, you get typhoons. Tornadoes is your awful weather event that you get over here, plus tons of thunderstorms. If you're coming from, plus tons of thunderstorms. I don't know what's going on right now, but we just came off of like 10 days of just unusual rain, thunderstorms this late in the summer, and then we've got another bunch coming up. This is unusual, but you do get a lot of rainfall, a lot of thunderstorms here in the area, and then with that tornadoes. So what do? Well, you can be weather aware. Eventually, as bad as it sounds, you have that survivor set bias where you just kind of get used to it. If there's a big storm in the area, it's nice to have a storm shelter. And for a lot of people moving here, you know, that's a peace of mind element that you might just want to get a storm shelter in the garage or somewhere in the house, or just know where the nearest one is. Most places here not going to have a basement, so you're not going to be able to go underground if there's a tornado because the water level's so high. I didn't even know that coming here because, you know, in a lot of other areas, basements are common. Over here, not the case. I have so many people looking for them, and it's hit and miss. And if you have a basement here, it's going to be humid. You're going to need a sump pump or dehumidifier running all the time because it's just constantly going to be humid, and if you don't deal with that, it's going to be damp all the time down there. That was crazy. All right, this next point, we talked about Huntsville is completely different. It's than what you think when probably think of Alabama, but in one way, Alabama is so behind, so backwards in a way that matters. Alabama is one of the last buyer beware states in the union. What that means is sellers do not have to disclose problems, and that was absolutely crazy when we moved here. The other part of it is you don't just have termites here, you have wood destroying organisms, you have carpenter bees. Basically everything's trying to destroy the wood in your house, and then sellers don't have to disclose. That can be pretty scary when you're relocating here. And hey, that's why our team here at Redstone Realty Solutions, we can help you navigate all of that when it's coming here, so you don't just have to feel like you have to buy new construction. We can help you through that process of finding beautiful, those great resale homes, and then keeping you helping you navigate a buyer beware states. Just give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or in the pinned comment below or in the description, we have a Zoom link. I'd love to do Zoom meetings with y'all. Just schedule a time on there and we'll talk more about what you need. But going back to that point, buyer beware, this is an area that Alabama is crazy behind on, that I don't know if they're ever going to fix it. It just makes it really, especially when you're relocating, it can make it a little hairy if you don't know what you're doing. All right, so the next thing you need to know about Alabama, that's if you are not used to a rural area, you'll have people, and this takes a lot of people by surprise. We talked about this constitutional carry state. Well, people will, especially in the county, they will just practice. They'll do range target practice in their own property. So if you hear gunshots firing in the city, you may be need to be a little bit more concerned. But out in the country, that's just a normal fact of life. Which is something that catches a lot of people off guard depending on where you're coming from. You do get used to it. You might have dogs going off who hate that when they hear it. But if you have dogs as well, Redstone Arsenal, hey, it's an arsenal. You have munitions testing, you have rocket testing, there are loud explosions. If you follow the Facebook page, it's hilarious because they'll be like, those big explosions today is this, or it's this. Yeah, you can hear it even out where I am, 30 miles away from Huntsville. You can still now hear some of that rumbling from whatever they're doing over there, which is something, it's a rocket city for a reason. That's just part of everyday life here, something to get used to. You do get used to it, kind of like imagine a train coming by. Your pets maybe won't get used to it as much. A lot of times my parents will have to crate their dogs that are terrified of the thunder or the munitions, so something to keep in mind for your fur babies. Taxes here in Huntsville, and this was crazy, I didn't really realize this moving in, but Alabama doesn't tax your federal pension, your state pension, or your Social Security for income tax. And that's huge when you're looking at laying down, long-term retiring here, is your paycheck stretched a little bit further. Now, your sales tax, they get you there, but property taxes are so much lower here. Like, when you look at the property taxes here for a year, might be less than what you're paying a month, depending on where you're relocating from, or half of what it was from over for the same price home in a high cost living city. So income taxes about 5%, property taxes super duper low. It is really a big win when it comes to the affordability here, and that's a huge draw for people who are thinking long term on retiring here in the area. Big benefit. So one of the things that's we struggled with in a super rural area when we were in Missouri was actually feeling like we fit in there. Here in Huntsville, whether or not you fit in really is going to depend on the amount of effort you put into moving here. Huntsville's a geeky city. All these engineers, if you're into fandoms, RENE fairs, any kind of geeky stuff, Huntsville's you're going to fit right in. There is a Rocket City HEMA's historical European martial arts place that does sword fighting, and the amount of people there that are engineers is crazy. So it is a fun area. Performing arts, you have all of that here, big in the area as well, with the Von Braun Center. So there's recreation. Pickleball is becoming very big here in the area. You've got some local softball, baseball teams, lots of things that you can do, but the trick is really the key. You may not get that far in building relationships from your workplace here, especially if you end up picking one of the suburbs here in the area, not living right there in Huntsville. So it's going to really depend on how much effort you are in making yourself go out there and getting to know people. Now, the Southern hospitality is great, but it can actually be a lot when you first join a group, because you could be a brand newcomer to this group. Everyone already knows each other there, and you'll get a couple of people that might be super overly friendly, and you might be like, well, I'm just kind of testing this out. So it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing, but you really are going to have to put effort into showing up, to getting involved, to build that community aspect. And that's really the key. to this whole area. The house is beautiful. I mean, there's some beautiful homes, some beautiful estates here in the area. However, to really make the place feel like community is where you have to put that effort in, and that's what makes it feel like home. For us, we were invested. We ended up picking over in the Decatur area to settle down. It was close to our church. It was close to our friend groups. My wife has an extensive friend group over in Coleman, which is like 40 minutes from where we live. So, where you decide to invest your time in the groups and the places that you want to be, that is where you're really going to get that. Because people lay roots here. You can create those friends that you'll have a decade later, which is great here. Just take some effort. Take some effort going into it. How long did it take to make us actually feel like home here? Oh, probably about. We moved in 2014. Probably about 4 or 5 years, honestly. We did get involved in our first church that we were at here. I got involved in the youth group. That was good. But then, people graduate, they move on. Those friendships are kind of temporary. Homeschool group that we were involved in, made some good friends there, and they moved on. Got involved with the Decatur Civic Chorus, a group, same people that kind of year in, year out go there. A few other community groups that we became affiliated with. So, but probably about 4 years to really, really make the place feel like home. And it took some intentionality. When we were the newcomers coming in, a lot of people here, they may know each other for years, but they're not necessarily organizing events, organizing get-together. So when we moved here, we made intentionality about, all right, we're going to come here, we're going to get to know people, we bought my parents got a beautiful place here with a pool, plenty of entertaining space so that we could host lots of get-togethers, get to know people. And we ended up becoming the party place here in the area. My wife and I are working on being more intentional when getting together with couples that we want to know, with friends for our kids to build that. But it does take intentionality. It takes, even if you're a brand newcomer here, you can break into groups if you're just willing to open up your home, or put yourself out there to get to know people. And you can shortcut years of time by just doing that. So, pro tip. So, is Huntsville, Alabama going to be a conservative or a liberal area? Just look at the polling data. This area votes red, predominantly votes red. You might see some areas going a little bit more purple or more blue, but predominantly this area is going red. So if that's what you're looking for, hey, that's just fact of what this area offers. All right, so there's a little bit of culture shock. So let's talk about culture here. There was a little bit of a culture shock moving here, and the biggest one is people are obsessed with their local football teams. I don't get it. Hey, if you like football, if you're into that sports, you're going to fit right in. If you just, you just get into the Alabama or the Auburn, you pick a team, and that can be a great way. I don't care about sports. I don't. It's not important to me. That's a huge part of the culture here. People fly their team flags. They brand their cars with their stickers, and with their logos, for the collegiate teams here. All right, so let me tell you the number one thing that we discover after 12 years of living here is going to be that this area continues to grow. There's opportunity for the future. We hit on it a little bit earlier, but this is not the preconceived what you think of when you think of Alabama. I mean, then the area is not so advanced like other high cost of living areas that you're going to have to flee it later on as prices just go absurd. They've climbed for just like everywhere else in the area, but this is a city that we've learned that you really can lay down roots. People from all over the world, it's just crazy how many people end up here from all walks of life, from all over the world, that end up settling in the Huntsville area. Engineers, I mean, so many end of career come here. Military, tons of retired military here in the area. There's a lot of appreciation of the military too, which is great to see. If you can put up with the humidity, with the hot, humid summers, which start beginning in February, March, and you can still be in t-shirt weather in December. Yeah, and then you get random cold snaps in between your December through February. Crazy though, something else. Your highest utility bills here in the area is not going to be in the summer, unless you just keep it like 60 all the time. Is likely to be in the winter. It's usually when you see all the Facebook groups, people freaking out because they don't realize that keeping their house at 70 in the winter when it's 30 degrees outside uses a lot more energy than keeping it at 70 when it's 90 out. Just that difference in BTUs. You're going to get that utility shock. But yeah, that's got to be the biggest thing, is that this area, it's just crazy to me how much it continues to grow. Other huge companies see the potential here that, we knew it was a good area 12 years ago. It's just continued to grow, it's continued to change, and we're looking at the docket of tens of thousands of people slated to relocate here in the next 5 years. Just for the Redstone, for the Redstone complex and the defense contractor, jobs opening up there to support all that. So it's crazy how much this area is growing, what's coming, but it's still got this. Yeah, it still actually feels sane here. It feels like you got that piece of the American dream that can be a reality here. That's just the choice is gone from other cities. You're just working all the time just to barely make things meet. You have margin in your life, so you can enjoy some things for fun. It's great. So if you're thinking, if you're seriously thinking about relocating here, this is our experience after 12 years. If you want to know more, hey, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. Our team here at Redstone Realty Solutions, we've got your back when you're relocating to Huntsville, Alabama. Book a Zoom call. If you want to know more about the areas or if you want to go ahead and start seeing some actual neighborhood tours, some vlogs, check out our playlist. We've got everything you need to know about moving to Huntsville, Alabama, and I'll catch you on the next video.